Craig Dacey's here. Welcome back. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you.
I've resurrected the Marketing Clarity podcast from the dead, like a necromancer, but not all the weird, arguably weird things a necromancer does. Just in the context of raising the dead and having an army of dead. That's what I've done to this podcast.
And apparently you're going super niche because I don't think anyone knows what a necromancer is.
You're right. You're right. My core audience, that's another episode. That's a separate episode maybe. That's for the D&D crossover audience. Like, okay, I love marketing, but I also love Dungeons and Dragons. And I actually think there's a bigger overlap there than you probably would guess originally.
Really?
So,
okay. Well,
yeah.
I don't know Dungeons and Dragons. I played it one time. One time with a friend.
He's too cool for school, everyone. Craig Dacey's here. He's too cool for school.
Maybe I was so nerdy that I couldn't even get invited to play D&D.
Wow. You went way off the nerd scale into social outcast.
Yeah, even the nerds wouldn't hang out with me.
The nerds to you were like the jocks to everyone else. You just aspired. That was your ceiling, whereas it was almost everyone else's floor.
Yes, and anybody nerdier than me went full circle, and they were cool because they were so nerdy. It was cool. So
this needs a graph. This is so confusing, but this is great. All right, the Marketing Clarity podcast is back, and we got a lot to cover here. And I want to start with a segment I'm calling News Cycle. It's some quick hit stuff that small business marketers need to be aware of. What is happening in the month of March 2024. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, the first one. The TikTok ban. Oh, it's back, baby. The talk of the TikTok ban is back. Whoo! It's election season, and people got nothing else to do than to attempt to ban TikTok. I feel like we've talked about this before because this thing, like a whack-a-mole topic, it pops up, I don't know, every couple months. But are you at least relatively familiar with this and what's going on?
I know people don't like it.
When you say it, please define
China.
It.
Is China involved?
Like it. The it is China, or the it is TikTok, or the it is the ban?
All three. No, wow. People. The government doesn't. It has to do with China, right?
Yes.
I'm your ignorant co-host. So
TikTok is owned by a Chinese company, which may or may not have connections to the Chinese government, like most Chinese or many Chinese companies do. So there's concern over, what you will hear is there's concern over data privacy, data usage, and maybe even as far as corruption of the youth. But what you may also hear if you read other sites is that a big motivator behind this is because this platform is hugely popular, surging in popularity with the kids, but it's now, definitely expanding into other demographics and people and groups, and that it is not a company owned by the U.S., so therefore the United States cannot exercise pressures per se on the platform as opposed to a Meta or a Google or anything else.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of the not as spoken component of this. But I will say this. Here's something interesting. I want to share with you I'm paraphrasing here, but the Chinese parent company that does own TikTok, on the one hand, they're like, we're not doing anything. We're totally cool. But then when this came out, so there's a bill and it's passed the House. Now, I don't remember much Schoolhouse Rock, but it does then have to go to the Senate, Craig. Did you know that?
Does it?
It does. This is government, I think. I've heard. Then it goes to a tribunal. Then it goes to the Voice. And then it goes to the president. Yeah, it's interesting. But so TikTok parent company is like, listen, it's cool. We're not doing anything. But then it passes the House and they come out and they say, if you do this, the U.S. will be sorry. Now, that's not a card you pull if you're
No.
not doing anything nefarious. What does that even mean?
Counter with a threat. That's always the sure sign of innocence. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Hey guys, are you guys up to anything? Because we're thinking about banning you. If you do, you'll be sorry. Okay, now I'm concerned. Now I'm a little more concerned than I was before. Why would you say that? That's a weird thing to say. So
Now,
TikTok ban is back. Maybe next time you hear from us, there will be no TikTok. Let's
how
hit this
popular
real
is
quick.
TikTok anymore, though? Like, how popular is it?
Very popular. I think it's, definitely okay. I'm
Still
going to
number
wager a
one?
guess to say, depending, of course, always on the age component, but it's absolutely in the top 3.
Okay.
I think if you look at globally, I think it depends on how you slice and dice, but it is definitely in a top 3. I think probably in most categories, particularly skewing younger.
I just figured
You're
once
only
I signed up.
habitually. You're not. You're like a casual on TikTok.
Yeah. And I figured
too.
once I signed up for it, it was no longer like a good one. That's usually how it works. By the time
That
I get
is usually a
into
good rule of thumb. Once Craig's in
old.
there, no one cares about this
it,
platform.
no, nope.
Yeah. I kind of use that now too, to be fair though. Even, as much as I'm on, I always still like try to join the new ones, and even when I'm in there, I'm like, oh man, it's like the meme of Steve Buscemi with the skateboard and the backwards hat. Like, what's up, fellow kids? That's
Yes.
me
I'm still trying to
running in
bring
there.
back Live Journal or something.
Yeah, you haven't
no one-
signed my online petition yet, Craig. When are you going to get
Yeah.
it right? You said you'd do that.
No one's reading my daily journal entries on Live Journal.
God.
It's
Please go read Craig's daily journal, because if you don't, he just emails them to me. Ugh, God, it's the worst. All right, so if you're out there and you are using TikTok as a big part of your business, one thing you just may want to do is to start to at least experiment and diversify your vertical video content to YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. Now, that, of course, speaks to the medium itself. Okay, vertical video. But TikTok, the reason why it surged in such popularity is because the secret sauce of the algorithm. It, unlike any other platform I've ever joined, was like on it when I joined. It was candidly freaky eerie, which maybe plays to how much data they have and use to curate your feed. So it's not just about, put vertical videos on these and you'll do the same, because their secret sauce is just that. It's their own distinct secret sauce, which people are loving. It's like sriracha several years ago. Do you remember when sriracha, everyone was like putting it on everything,
Oh yeah.
And now it's kind of just a whatever. So who knows? We'll see. Okay.
TikTok's
Number
like
2.
sriracha. There's your headline.
TikTok. That's right. There you go. See, that's good. That's a good headline.
That is a good headline.
Number 2 thing you need to know: Meta, otherwise known as Facebook, Instagram, every other stupid thing that they own. Meta will be upcharging you if you run ads or make edits through ads through the iOS app. And that's because iOS, well, as you may or may not know, Apple really has been putting some clamps down on Meta's business, but they also charge them some sort of hidden pass-through fee. And so Meta's like, okay, screw that. If we're going to have to pay that or deal with Apple, we at least want to move our users, particularly our business users and advertisers, off of doing things in their app. So if you're going to make changes to your ads, do it on desktop in a browser. Otherwise, you could be subject, and probably will be subject, to a upcharge or additional charges, which you wouldn't even know because it's going to be buried on that email that you get every month, and just like, hey, you spent this much money, and you won't even know. So be aware of that. If you are someone running Meta ads, you may want to be looking to make changes, edits, updates to your ads on a browser. So thoughts, Craig?
I already use a browser, but now I'm like, okay, I got to remember that, because if I
Sometimes
edit,
you go in, yeah, it's ridiculous.
I wish it would hopefully come up with like some kind of notification, right? If they're trying to get you off the app, wouldn't they want you to know that there's going to be a fee and say, hey, get
I
on over
mean,
to the
I think
browser.
unfortunately, particularly with Facebook ads, um, they've put so many things in notifications, particularly because they keep reducing all the targeting stuff that I almost feel like we've been over notified of things, and now it's going to
Yeah.
be between that and Google Analytics and all that good stuff. This is actually the subject of a podcast that we're going to do over on your pod sometime soon.
Yeah.
So I'll let everyone know when that
TV,
drops.
TVD. Yeah.
TBD. You know what that was, everyone? That was a live shaming of Craig to get his shit together, to get his pod
Hey,
going. Yep.
my goal was to launch it by the end of March. I still have like 15 days,
You got some
16,
days.
17.
You got days. All right. I
Unless
believe
you
in you.
release this in April, then everyone's gonna think I'm a failure.
Nope, not gonna do
Like,
it. I'm gonna
like you
I'm gonna
missed
put
it.
this out there to really shame you. And finally, the third big news update that you need to know about is Google rolled out what they're calling, this is a good name. You ready for this name?
I'm ready.
Unhelpful content update.
Mm, mm.
That's pretty
Everyone
good.
loves unhelpful content.
Yeah. I feel like that could be some people's job title. Unhelpful manager marketing. The unhelpful content update, it's rolling out in March, aims to reduce low quality, unoriginal
Mm.
content in search results by 40%. Now, Craig, what could possibly be producing low quality, unoriginal content? What could it be?
Oh, robots, AI, and dum dums.
That's right. Those are the three biggies. That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah. So this is a very interesting kind
which
of
needs to probably happen because there's a bunch of lazy people just taking whatever Chat GPT says, posting it in their blog without touching it
of
all.
course I know there is. That's and Google knows it too. And
Yeah,
that is a big, I want to say, threat to their business as search. Now, as I've talked about on many episodes about search, Google, at the end of the day, their thing is to provide you with the best, most relevant, most valuable content to answer your search query. Because the day and time when it stops doing that, you're not going to use it. Right?
yeah.
Again, the classic example, if I type in roller skates into Google and it gives me all results around ice cream cones, like this is the worst service ever. Why am I going to use this? I'm not going to use this. So you go somewhere else. And so with unhelpful content, it's almost like clogging up Google and it's having to suss out what is actually going to be helpful to people and what's going to be original and useful. So this is pretty significant. And again, looking to reduce unoriginal content by 40%. I mean, that's a huge number. So if you are out there, exactly as Craig, as you said, if you're
Yeah.
out there, listen, you may not be dum-dum territory, but you might be territory of using ChatGPT. You need to not just take exactly what ChatGPT spits out and put it on your blog. You need to add your own expertise. You need to add your own experience. You need to make it trustworthy, and it needs to be authoritative. This is, it's not in the right order, but it's called EEAT. All right? You
It's not
need
how you
to do
spell it.
those things to differentiate your content. Otherwise, you're just spitting out what potentially someone else is spitting out too. And
Mhm.
Google's going to be like, this is the same content that this person over here is saying and this person over here. So, like, why am I going to serve this up? I want to serve up something original that is authentic, that has, almost like firsthand experience, that kind of thing in there. So,
Yeah.
Craig,
Do you
this is your
think?
fact check.
Do you think in the near future, I guess, as this happens, will you be able to figure out? Okay, the weight, what percentage? Like, if you go into Chat GPT and have them write you a blog, like how much of that should you be keeping versus putting your own voice in? Because I know that's probably an
Oh,
unknown right now. Like,
yeah,
is
that's a
there?
great question. I'll tell you what I think is a really good way to utilize ChatGPT or even by extension Gemini, which is formerly Bard. So they're pretty similar. I like to first have either one of them, an AI tool, whatever tool you use, generate an outline, right?
Hmm.
And then I like to kind of flesh out that outline kind of as much as I can using my own firsthand experience, knowledge, expertise, opinions, that kind of thing. And then potentially bringing back areas where maybe you think you were a little thin, or areas where you're like, hey, maybe I could I get some stats to reinforce this, or could I get
Oh yeah.
some something like that? And so you can put kind of a paragraph in and say, hey, is there any, can you give me a list of, let's say I was doing a podcast or a blog on email marketing and I talk specifically about bounce rate. I'd maybe write about that, and then I could put in that paragraph and say, hey, do you have any numbers about the bounce rate for emails in the entertainment industry, right? If that's what else, and see what it gives you there, and then include that inside of it, kind of fold it in, into the
Yeah.
article. So I think that is the best, and I would almost say healthiest
Hmm.
way to start with your expertise, your experience, your knowledge, and then using ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever to fill in the gaps of what AIs are really good for, and that is like pulling like research and stuff that you're just gonna spend a ton of time trying to dig through. So I think that's a good utilization of the tool when we're looking at the overall content creation process. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. Whereas I think most people, myself included, would think the opposite. Like, let me have Chat GPT write it for me, and then I will supplement my own thoughts into it. The opposite, which makes a lot more sense. Use it to help you craft the blog or the outline, write the blog yourself, and then use it again to maybe help fill it out or add some
Yeah.
facts. But
And listen, everyone works differently, right? But honestly, the big thing that Google, despite ChatGPT taking away users from it, the big thing about Google is it's still number one by a
yeah,
landslide, and so it is prioritizing content that is differentiated and original. And so if you do want to do it the method you talked about, you still just need to make sure that you go through and you fold in your voice, So I'm not going to say that the way that you outlined is the wrong way, but I think it is sometimes the easier way. And so sometimes you lose sight of how important it is to make it your own, you know?
yeah, hmm,
And the power of AI tools are also all in the prompts, right? So you can give it almost like a lot of details about yourself to define voice. And you can do that even through create, if you're on a paid version of ChatGPT, you can create your own GPT, but that's a subject for another podcast. All right, Craig. So I shared this article with you earlier this month, and it was an article on. It was a website I'd never heard about before, but so almost want to give them a shout out. So give me 1 second here. Do. Orbit Media Studios. I don't know, but it
yeah.
came up on one of my feeds, and I thought it was tremendously written, and I thought it was a really great article, and it was a article of 13 things to remove from your website immediately. Now, I'm not
Oh,
going to go through all 13, but I did want to hit 5 that I thought were
wow.
pretty good. And this is where the interesting thing and the full transparency comes in. So, shamefully, it's even been a while since I updated my website. I might be guilty
Boo.
of some of these things, but here's why I feel like I'm a good host. I'm going to tell you that these are still things that you need to remove, and then I'm going to work on them, right? I am not perfect. I'm not a perfect marketer, Craig. I'm only a perfect person, okay? So this is where I'll tell you a phrase I've been using a lot. I've used something similar in the past. I said, don't let perfection get in the way of production. I've
Hmm.
now kind of shifted in 2024, and it is aim for progress, not perfection.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
so this is something I want everyone out there to be thinking about when it comes to these edits. Okay? You ready?
I'm ready. Let's hit them.
All right. Number one, or it's not number one on the list, but the first one I want to hit. Generic navigation labels. Okay.
What does
This
that
is
mean?
where you get too cutesy in the navigation, right?
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Like up at the
You know
top
what? Yeah.
bar where it's like, yeah, it's like you're trying to find like what do they do, and it doesn't instead of just saying like services, it says like I don't even have an example of it, but it's probably something stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Don't be cutesy with your navigation labels, please. Because this is going to increase a potential bounce. It makes a user experience not ideal. You can get cutesy on the page. Like if you have something that's called something that people don't know, like don't put it in the navigation. You can put it on the page if you want, but be very clear with a call to action on your navigation.
So you're saying even less generic, even services would be too generic, probably. Like, are we talking like getting more specific? Like,
I think services is a great start. Let's
okay,
be honest, right? Like I think that's a great start. But depending what your business is and like how many different services and that kind of thing, I hesitate always to throw out a blanket type of recommendation, but I think services for many of you out there who are small business services, I think that's at least a good start, right? And depending
yeah,
how many services you have, if it's let's say less than 3, can you just put them in the main nav, right? Or at least make them the the almost the mini menu or the drop down. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? But for example, like a bad thing would be like, okay, services, and then it would be like, you know, super social. And it's like, okay, it's cute. What the hell does that mean? I don't know what that means, And now I will say, okay, oh, but they're curious, so they're going to click. Yeah, but just tell them, right? I mean, use language that the person looking for the business will understand, right? I think sometimes
Even
you
if
get too
it's
cutesy.
even if it's I'm not curious. If I'm especially in a B2B world, if I'm looking for something, I don't want to spend my time like click because that might be the third website I visited. I don't want to have to dig around trying to find to see just simply do they offer what I'm looking for versus
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
actually
just tell
saying
me, please.
what
Like this is,
website
yes.
design, SEO
Correct.
marketing, like
Yeah,
Facebook ads. Like that's to me okay, great. That's I'm looking for one of those things, and that's the services they offer.
correct. I think if you run into the risk of frustrating people more, then they are more likely probably not to work with you. Whether they just leave or they maybe that confusion goes through the rest of how you work with them, and that's not good. All right, number 2. This one's relatively new. I find it very funny. Creepy AI stock photos of people. This was
Oh,
a real
okay.
good recent addition. So, you know
The
how
hands never look right.
you can use AI to make like
Oh
stock
yeah,
photos with people. They look
awful.
weird.
They look like the way the Polar Express movie made you feel.
Yes, totally. They totally look like Polar Express people. Yes.
Like you're just like there's something that just makes me feel a little icky about this.
Now, that being said, it doesn't mean they all spit that out. But if that's the one it spits out and then that's the one you use,
Like,
I mean, listen, I would always prefer photos, if again, small business marketers, of you, of your customers, of your employees. I mean, then obviously I understand the usage of stock if you don't have that. But then going into like AI stock starts to get a little weird because also sometimes there's even little details.
AI
The
is
AI
terrible.
photos sometimes get weird. Someone will have
They're
6
terrible.
fingers on a hand.
Yes, I was like, hands are something AI struggles with. It's usually like either a lobster claw hand or like you're the 6-fingered man. It's one of the two.
That's right. And Animo Montoya is going to be really upset with you when he
Yeah,
finds that photo on the
he'll be
website.
banging on your door. He's going to
He
come straight to
sure
your
is.
business.
He sure is.
Just
So heads
accusing you
up.
of killing his father. And
So yeah, and also bummer to everyone out there who sells lobster hands.
lobster hands. That's they're like that's what I asked AI to put lobster hands on these people. That's our product.
See, now that I feel like I can get behind. If you have a stock photo of someone and they're like, in like a barista, but they have a lobster hand, that okay, maybe I'm going to buck the trend and say, I think I might want to work with that person. I think
Yeah.
that's good. I like where they're heading with that.
Or
Although I have a
maybe
shellfish
you're
allergy, so please don't touch my coffee. Thank you.
oh gosh. Or your core offering is finger removal. And so, you want all
Oh,
your
yes,
people to
you're a
have
mad
multiple
scientist.
lots of extra fingers. And so
You're Dr. Moreau, perhaps. His website may feature these things. But here's the thing, they'd probably be real photos, not AI. So
unless you don't have any customers because that's a stupid business.
this is an incredibly niche business, and I think it's not the best use case. Mad scientist doctor. So maybe that one get an asterisk if that's your category. Okay, number 3. Social links in the header. Now, at the top. Now, I mean, honestly, I can't tell you the last time I clicked on a social link from a website. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And it makes sense. It actually is. It has low value, but some value from an SEO perspective. So I'm not going to say don't do it. But I think the case made on this article was putting it in the header versus the footer.
That's usually where I see it.
Yeah. And that's where people are kind of conditioned to go if they want that.
Because if you put it in the header, aren't you just encouraging people to leave your website? Isn't that like
Boom.
bad for your...
Craig Dacey, bonus points. Look at this
I know.
guy. Woo, 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 woo. That is 100% the case that they make in this article, is that you're basically just giving these big exit signs for people to your website. And the people who want to go to social, they're conditioned to look in the footer. Okay. So put them there. Okay. That one's pretty easy. Number 4, long paragraphs. Because who likes to read nowadays?
Nope. If there's a lot of break it up into small paragraphs. Trick me into thinking I'm not reading.
Yes. Break it up into small, digestible paragraphs. Spanning giant long paragraphs. I mean, sometimes it doesn't even get a chance to be read because someone just looks at it and is like,
nope, I don't read them.
I'm not going to do that.
Nope. I'm usually like a 2-sentence paragraph person whenever I'm writing like any kind of blog.
Yeah,
maybe
me too.
3 if it's short, but usually that's my rule of thumb is a couple of sentences and then you're starting a new.
Your emails do a good job of that too, I feel like, generally speaking, Craig Dacey.
Oh, shucks.
Craig Dacey, financial coach. So if you need help with your business, head on over to craigdacey.com. He's got a great newsletter too. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Keeps it
small
short.
paragraphs. That's all it is.
Yeah. Shorter is better. We all know that's what everyone says in life about everything. So no comment needed on that, Craig. Thank you very much.
Nope.
Okay. That looks said it all. Okay. Number 5. This one's good because I think many of you might be committing this website foul. Having a testimonials page. Now hold on. You say, what? That's crazy. Why would you say that, Ross? / the people at Orbit Media who wrote this article that did a great job. Okay, it's not just having a testimonials page. That's a good idea. You do that. But the problem is like relegating your testimonials to only live on the testimonials page. You can have a testimonials page, but you sprinkle those testimonials like pixie dust, right? Through your whole website. Don't rely on someone to go find them. Proverbially punch them in the face with the testimonials throughout your website.
Yeah.
Don't leave it up to them to find the good things that people say about you.
Yeah.
Put it all over.
Totally.
Yeah. It's
I
that
agree.
easy. So those are 5 of the 13. The other 8, I had to do some quick math there, are also really good. Definitely recommend you go check them out. I'll put a link in the description for that full article. Really good. Now, Craig, one more thing. You ready to wrap up? We're going to head on into the old work shed, and we're going to peer into the marketing toolkit. Enter Tim Allen. You're like the Heidi to my Al Borland.
So neither of us are Tim Allen. Is that Tim
No,
Taylor?
there's no Tim Allen. This is a spin-off show where Tim
Okay.
Allen got canceled for obvious reasons, and then they kept Al Borland and Heidi.
Okay.
How do you feel about that show? How would that test with you? Let me write this down. Would
The
you
Al
watch it?
Borland and Heidi show.
Yeah.
No, probably not.
You would not watch that. Okay. Well, I'm not going to include that feedback in my pitch to the executives, the studio execs later today.
Well, don't know why you asked.
A quick note, something I caught while editing this podcast, and that is that Craig, throughout this segment, mentions a tool called StreamYard, which is fantastic. I've used it. I enjoy it. I have a video on YouTube about StreamYard. But what he really meant to say was Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout is a podcast platform, and it has also rolled out some AI tools. So if you're curious about those tools and that platform, I've put a link in this episode description. It is a referral link, but clicking it helps to support this podcast and everything I do. Okay, cool. Hope that helps. All right, let's jump in. Marketing toolkit time. This is where I share a service, a product, a software, a something that I use and I love with you, a small business marketer. This one is particularly for you podcasters out there. Content creators, really. Yeah. Will that be Craig? Who knows? If he would stop being so lazy. Just kidding. He's got till the end of the month, people. Just relax.
Yeah.
Just relax.
Yeah, it's not hard to throw a podcast together in a couple
Why are
weeks.
you guys shaming him so much? Okay? Just because I'm so excited for it. I just am very excited for your show to come out, and I think that's just the thing. It's like Christmas is around the corner, and I just can't wait. That's why I kid because I love.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Also, you said you're going to have me on the show, so I just would love to. I need to have more people listen to me.
The show's been out for months. I just haven't had the heart to tell you I don't want you on the show. We're about to celebrate
awkward place
episode
to
100.
reveal that.
Yeah.
Well,
It's,
I'm going to
episode
replace all
100.
your input in this podcast with an AI. So
How do people know I'm not an AI already? Have
That's a
you
good
counted
point.
how many fingers I have? That looked a lot better in my
he has
head.
4, but that's from a prior softball injury. We're not going to talk about that here. All right, the toolkit. Here is what I'm recommending for you. Really, again, great for podcasters, but could also be used for video creators. And the tool is called Toasty. It's called Toasty. The website is toasty.ai. Oh, wait, you're missing from my... Hold on. Your camera went
Yeah.
away.
I
There
see
we go,
how it
you're
is.
back. Don't worry.
All right.
He's back. He's not AI. All right, toasty.ai. Love it. So what essentially you do is you can upload your audio, I think, or video, because it's, people do video podcasts now, like this one, because we're doing video. It's video. Okay, you upload it, and then what it does, hold on here. Where's my mousey? Here we go. It does basically all the extra other production stuff. It generates for you social posts. It generates for you a blog post. It generates for you, now I think they do a audio, why am I losing my audiogram? Thank you. So once it's like they create for you a small little clip that you can share on socials. That's video. It does so many awesome awesome things. So again, blog, social, summaries, again, and now it creates for you little clips that you can easily export in their videos. So really, really, oh, here it is. Here's what the kind of an audiogram looks like for those of you that maybe don't know. Something like this. All right. So it is really great, worth the price. Let's look at the pricing actually, because it's like everything else, tiers up. Yeah, so they do have a free version, 1 upload per month, up to an hour, and you still get most of everything that they offer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then the professional version, you get everything, but then your audiogram can be a bit longer. So you can make a 15-minute long audiogram.
It's a long audiogram.
Yeah. So to be honest, I don't know why you'd need a 15-minute long audiogram. Maybe if you're doing something that long, maybe just do a video podcast. But you do you. I'm not here to tell you what to do. So I highly recommend it. Toasty.ai. There'll be a link in this episode's description. Please use that. Unfortunately, and I'll tell you, full disclosure, for some of these, I have affiliates and things like that. This one, they don't have a program for that yet. So this is just one I'm throwing out there because it's awesome. And I don't even get any side money from it.
That's a lie. He gets a lot of money from it.
I'm a paid endorser.
With
not
Toasty,
only the paid sponsor person, I'm also a client.
Oh, hey, with Toasty, so we
Yep.
just finished talking about AI and their wonderful blog writing and Google liking it. If their AI is writing you a blog, like is it fine because they're taking your words from the video? Is it still gonna have issues? What
better? But I will tell you from my own experience in using it, it will get you probably 70% there. I usually like my tools to get like up to 80, but like it'll get you 70% there. But this one, I will say, you do need to look at a little bit closer than potentially if you run it through. I mean, I'm sure it's using one of those learning language models to do that. I'm sure it's using the API for ChatGPT to do it. But I have found that the articles they're good, but sometimes they do take a little bit more creative liberty than I found from ChatGPT or Gemini. And they will like include things that maybe you didn't necessarily talk about, but you could like mention as related content, if that makes sense. So it does require you to still go through. I mean, not that you shouldn't be just copy pasting directly from this stuff anyways, but it does require a little bit more. But again, gets you about 70% there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Cool.
Love it.
Yeah. Craig is going to use that when he does his podcast coming in April 2024.
But yeah,
it's
didn't we
already out.
discover that whatever was it, StreamYard has a similar service now?
Yes, I think we did actually. So I will say this, right? I love this tool. I use it. It's great. But just like everything AI tied to AI, a lot of competitors out there. So I'm not, if anything, maybe I'm showing this to you to say, this exists.
Yeah, find one that works. Because we didn't
Find
even
one
know.
that works for you.
Because I'm going to use StreamYard. No plug. I'm an affiliate. Get me some money. Sign up. Use my link.
I'll put a link to StreamYard because I am an affiliate. I do like StreamYard. It'll go in the article here, and I'll get the money. I won't share it with Craig.
As we were testing it out, I think you and I discovered they added this service. So we haven't even had a chance to look at it, but I'm going to test it when I one day launch my podcast.
Perhaps for a future pod.
Yeah, so I can report back. Cliffhanger, listeners.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, this is like
a true crime.
It's like a season finale of Game of Thrones.
Oh my God, it is.
You don't
What's
know.
going to happen? Will Craig create his podcast? Will he use StreamYard?
Is Jon Snow really dead? It's equally as enticing. So
I don't get that reference. I never watched Game of Thrones.
And you call yourself
how can you say you were a
nerd?
nerd and you watch? Well, I guess Game of Thrones really bucked the trend. It was not just a nerd show. It was a show for most everyone, right?
Everyone unsubscribe right now. He doesn't watch Game of Thrones.
Oh my God. It's just the guy who didn't play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
I don't even
that's true.
understand.
You're not gonna invite me back on again because I'm just telling everyone to unsubscribe. Leave a 1-star rating.
The main thing Craig wants you to take away from the show is to unsubscribe. And that's the worst really guest call to action I've ever heard in my life. And on that note, before we actually head out, what's your real call to action, Craig? Where can people find you? How can you help them? What up?
Oh, I get to plug myself. Look at this.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you can go to craigdacey.com and we help people manage their money in their business. So if you are struggling keeping your money organized, paying yourself enough, staying profitable, just feeling stressed out about money, we'll fix it.
We've talked about it. People who are business owners, small business owners, doing all the things, spinning all plates, that kind of thing, they rarely pay themselves enough. Craig's there to help you. Make sure you do that and make sure to keep not only pay yourself more, but then also figure out how you can still scale your business. So
Yeah,
absolutely check out Craig. If he ever makes a podcast, we'll definitely
I'll plug it.
talk about that. I mean,
We'll add it to the show notes one day.
we'll
right?
add it to the show notes. That's right. If it ever happens.
Now, Ross,
all right, Craig,
what's your call to action, huh?
My call to action is just share the show with a friend. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm coming back. I'm back. The Clarity Podcast is back. So please share it with a friend. Use the knowledge. Just keep listening. That's it. That's all I ask. Is that too hard? You're not doing anything else.
And
Other than
unsubscribe.
running your business. No, don't unsubscribe. Don't do that. Don't listen to him. Craig, it's been a pleasure.
Likewise.
And I will talk to you again soon. Maybe on a podcast, maybe not. Probably through text message. And yeah, man, thanks for taking the time.
All right.
You were a great dum-dum today.
I play it well.
And every day.